Some stories teach us how to love, and not just the joyful parts of love, but they also show us that true love means embracing both the good and the bad in someone. You must love the person as a whole, not just the parts you like. Only when you understand this kind of love can you make sacrifices that otherwise seem impossible. Today's story is one such emotional journey. The movie Be With You has a rating of 7.7 out of 10 on IMDb and 8.6 out of 10 on My Drama List. Let's begin. The film opens with an animated story. It tells us that after death, people don't go straight to heaven. Instead, they remain in a cloud city between heaven and earth. They stay there until their loved ones on earth forget about them completely. From that cloud city, a mother penguin is shown crying as she watches her child, who is alone on earth. Her heart breaks for her baby. One day, she boards a rain train and descends to earth. When she finally sees her baby, both of them are filled with joy. They hug each other tightly, and then something magical happens. The two begin living together once again. The mother penguin plays with her child, teaches it to swim and catch fish, and enjoys every moment. But soon, the rainy season begins to end. A messenger from the clouds comes to her and says she must return, or she will never be able to see her child again. The mother penguin agrees. She hugs her baby tightly one last time and boards the train back to the cloud city, this time without tears, only love. This story was being read from a handmade children's book created by a loving mother for her child. The boy's name is Ji-ho, and his mother has recently passed away. Today is her funeral. His father, Ye-jin, is deeply heartbroken. He truly loved his wife, and her sudden death shattered him. At the funeral, Ji-ho overhears relatives saying that his mother had been unwell since childbirth, that her illness led to her passing. Hearing this deeply upsets him, but Ji-ho softly says to himself, "I'll see you again, Mom." A year passes. One early morning, Ye-jin wakes up to his alarm clock. He gets on his bicycle and heads to work. He works as a cleaner at a swimming school. Ji-ho, now a little older, wakes up and still goes to sleep in his mother's closet, as if trying to feel her presence. That day, Ye-jin comes home from work and begins making breakfast while calling for Ji-ho. Ji-ho watches the weather forecast on TV, which says that the rainy season will begin later that week. He rushes to his father and asks, "Dad, when the rainy season starts, will it rain right away?" Ye-jin smiles and replies, "Sometimes it rains in the rainy season, and sometimes it doesn't." Ji-ho asks excitedly, "Are you excited for the rain?" Ye-jin replies, "Why do you ask?" Ji-ho responds with hope in his eyes, "Because when it rains, Mom will come back. She promised." Ye-jin is left speechless. He doesn't know how to tell his young son that his mother is never coming back. So instead, he gently says, "Well then, let's wait and see if it rains." He kisses his late wife's photo and takes Ji-ho to school on his bike. On the way, we see that Ye-jin rides his bike very slowly, so slowly that even a little girl overtakes them. There's a reason for this. Ye-jin has a health condition. He can't run or overexert himself, or he collapses. After dropping Ji-ho off at school, Ye-jin heads back to work. Meanwhile, Ji-ho visits his uncle's shop and tells him that the school is hosting a father-son relay race, and all the kids must run with their fathers. "But my dad can't run," he says sadly. His uncle smiles and says, "Then I'll run with you." On the day of the competition, Ji-ho's classmates tease him, saying, "That's not your dad, that's your uncle." They laugh at him. Suddenly, Ye-jin shows up at the event. He insists on running with Ji-ho himself. Despite his health issues, he runs with all his strength. The crowd cheers as he sprints ahead and almost reaches the finish line. But just before crossing it, he collapses from exhaustion. He doesn't win the race. Ji-ho and his uncle rush to help him. That evening, as they walk home, Ji-ho asks his father, "Promise me you'll never leave me, Dad." Ye-jin replies with love, "I'll never leave you." Ji-ho then says, "Let's wash the blanket tonight. I heard if we wash the blanket, it'll rain." That night, they clean the blanket together and hang it out to dry. Ye-jin stays up late watching videos of his late wife. He cries quietly, missing her dearly. Meanwhile, Ji-ho still holds on to the hope that when it rains, his mother will return. The next morning, Ji-ho wakes up to find rain falling outside. Overjoyed, he runs out of the house. Woo-jin follows behind. Ji-ho heads straight to an old train station. In the children's book, this is where the mother penguin arrived from the Cloud City. So Ji-ho believes this is where his mother will return too. They wait for a long time, but his mother doesn't show up. Woo-jin gently says, "Let's go home, Ji-ho. We'll come back the next time it rains." But Ji-ho refuses to leave. Woo-jin finally lifts his son into his arms and begins walking through a tunnel. And suddenly, in the middle of the tunnel, Woo-jin sees a woman.
Ji-ho's eyes light up and he exclaims, "Mom!" They both approach the woman. Ji-ho calls out to her. When the woman lifts her head, Woo-jin is stunned. It's her. It's really her. That woman was Suwa. Yes, the woman standing in the tunnel was none other than Woo-jin's late wife. Woo-jin is overwhelmed. How could his wife be back? How could this be real? But Suwa, on the other hand, seems confused. She has no memory of where she is or how she got there. Even more strangely, she doesn't recognize Ji-ho or Woo-jin at all. She simply follows them, as if led by instinct, unaware of who these people really are. Despite the confusion, Suwa goes home with them. Why doesn't Suwa remember anything? Why did she so easily go with strangers she doesn't recognize? These are questions that will be answered as the story unfolds. Later, Ji-ho shows her family photos and tries to jog her memory, but nothing clicks. Meanwhile, Woo-jin pulls Ji-ho aside in the bathroom and quietly tells him, "This has to be a secret. No one can know your mom is back." Later, Suwa asks gently, "Why can't I remember anything?" Woo-jin tells her that she had been hospitalized due to an illness. Perhaps she lost her memory because of a head injury, he says. That night, they all go to sleep. But in the middle of the night, Woo-jin walks into Suwa's room. After so long, he's finally able to see his wife again. Silently, with love and disbelief, he watches her sleep. The next morning, Ji-ho kisses his mother goodbye before heading off to school. But Woo-jin, still feeling awkward and uncertain, simply kisses her photo instead and heads out. However, Ji-ho doesn't go to school. He secretly returns home. Suwa is surprised to see him back and asks, "Why are you home so early?" Ji-ho lies, saying, "Our teacher didn't show up." The truth is, Ji-ho just wants to spend every second with his mother while she's here. The two spend the entire day playing together. Later, when Woo-jin returns home, he finds Suwa and Ji-ho playing a playful boxing game. He notices Ji-ho has a nosebleed from rough play, but Ji-ho is too happy to care. Having his mother back has made him forget all pain. At dinner, Ji-ho suddenly says, "I don't want this food. I want to eat mom's cooking." Suwa, despite having no memory, decides to try cooking. But as she attempts to prepare something, the food splatters from the pan. Woo-jin quickly hugs her to protect her, and some hot oil lands on his back. He leaves the kitchen, trying not to show his pain. Later that evening, after showering, Suwa steps out of the bathroom. Woo-jin can't help but stare at his beautiful wife. He gently says, "Ji-ho's fallen asleep in your room. I'll carry him to mine." But Suwa stops him. "No, let him sleep here." Then, she asks Woo-jin to take off his shirt. She sees the burn from earlier and softly applies ointment to his back. In that quiet moment, she asks, "Did we fall in love before we got married?" This question takes us into a flashback. We see their high school days. Suwa was a top student, smart, and focused. Woo-jin, on the other hand, was quite the opposite. He wasn't good at studying. He mostly swam and often fell asleep in class. They never really spoke. One day, while Woo-jin was swimming, Suwa fell into the pool and began to drown. Woo-jin saved her by letting her climb onto his back and swimming her to safety. That was the moment he noticed her for the first time, really noticed her. From that day forward, he was smitten. He stopped sleeping in class just so he could secretly look at her. He had fallen deeply for her but was too shy to confess. One of Woo-jin's friends tried to encourage him. He even did a silly love compatibility calculation using their names and told Woo-jin that Suwa probably liked him too. "Ask her for a pen," his friend said. "That's how you start talking to her." The next day, Woo-jin tried to ask Suwa for a pen. But before he could finish his sentence, she refused coldly. Woo-jin's friend reassured him. She's just hiding her feelings. Don't give up. During a dance class, Woo-jin was struggling. He's left-handed, and the girl he was paired with was right-handed, making it difficult. The teacher then partnered him with Sua, who was also left-handed. When he held her hand, Woo-jin felt a strange and beautiful warmth. Lost in that feeling, he accidentally stepped on her foot. Embarrassed, he bent down to wipe her shoe, and as he stood up, his forehead hit her nose. Her nose started bleeding. After that accident, Sua didn't talk to him again for the rest of high school. On the final day of school, Woo-jin's friend told him, "You've loved her for 3 years. If you don't tell her today, you'll regret it forever." Just as they were talking, Sua approached and handed Woo-jin's friend a diary. "Please write something in this. It's our last day." Then she turned to Woo-jin. "You too. You haven't written anything. You can if you want." Woo-jin was thrilled. He wrote in the diary and accidentally left his pen inside it. Sua took the diary home, and with it, the pen. Back in the present. In the middle of the night, Jiho sleepwalks into his mother's arms and falls asleep on her lap. Sua then asks Woo-jin, "So, we didn't date in high school?" Woo-jin continues the story. "No," he says, "but during my first college break, I called you." But as soon as Sua answered with a soft, "Hello," Woo-jin panicked and hung up. He was too nervous to speak. Soon after that, he received a military enlistment letter and had to serve. Years passed. Even after finishing his service, he still couldn't forget her. One day, he gathered the courage and called her again. When Sua said, "Hello," he nearly hung up again. But his friend, who was with him, stopped him and took the phone. He said, "We're from the class of '92. Woo-jin finally got on the phone and said, "I left a pen in your diary on the last day of school. It was very precious to me. Can I get it back?" Sua softly replied, "Yes, you can write to me." Hearing this, Woo-jin was overjoyed. He started dancing with happiness. The next day, he showed up to meet her dressed in a strange and quirky outfit. His behavior was a bit odd. After all, he had liked Sua silently for years, and now that he was finally speaking with her, his nervous excitement got the better of him. They went to a small restaurant and talked for hours over their meal. Afterwards, they stood at a bus stop. Several buses came and went, but neither of them got on. They both kept finding little excuses to stay longer. Woo-jin couldn't stop smiling. He felt that maybe, just maybe, Sua liked him too. But eventually, the last bus of the night arrived. This time, Sua stepped on. As the bus was about to depart, Woo-jin ran after it, jumped on board, and asked breathlessly, "Can I write you letters?" Sua, impressed and smiling, replied, "Yes, you can." Later, Woo-jin invited her to a movie. While they watched the film, Woo-jin nervously tried to hold Sua's hand, but instead of her hand, he accidentally grabbed the foot of the person sitting behind her. Still thinking it was Sua, he whispered, "Why is your hand so cold?" Sua held up her hand, clearly nowhere near where he was reaching. Woo-jin looked back, and to his horror, realized he had been holding someone else's foot all this time. Embarrassed, he stayed silent. But seeing him so disappointed, Sua slipped her hand into his coat pocket. Woo-jin also placed his hand inside, and in that quiet moment, their hands touched. Both of them felt a magical warmth, something neither had ever experienced before. Back in the present, Sua teasingly slips her hand into Woo-jin's pocket again. He smiles and gently holds her hand. Their love, once lost in time, was slowly being rediscovered. Woo-jin then took Sua to a mountaintop open-air theater. As they watched a film under the night sky, he kissed her. In that moment, it was as if they had traveled back in time, reliving their youth, their first love, and all those innocent emotions. After that, they began spending time together as a family with their son Jiho too. They laughed, played, and created new memories. At one point, Woo-jin even carried both his wife and son on his back. But by the time they returned home, he collapsed from exhaustion. When he regained consciousness, he saw Sua crying by his side. She asked softly, "Why didn't you tell me? When did it all start?" And once again, the story slips into flashback. Back in the past, Sua had given Woo-jin a handmade gift, wishing him good luck before his national-level swimming competition. During training, however, Woo-jin fainted in the water. After several checkups and medication, he was diagnosed with a serious condition. Whenever he became too nervous or overwhelmed, he would faint. Knowing this, Woo-jin told Sua, "Forget me. I don't like you anymore. Please don't come looking for me." Sua left in tears. Woo-jin spent a painful year trying to live without her. But even with the struggle, he couldn't move on. He later moved alone to Seoul in the hope of seeing her again. One day, he spotted Sua riding in another man's car. Though it broke his heart, he comforted himself, thinking, "At least she's with someone who will care for her." A few months passed. Then, one day, Woo-jin received a call from Sua. She asked him to meet her at the station. When he arrived, she rushed off the train, hugged him tightly, and whispered, "Don't worry about anything. We'll be okay. We're meant for each other." Overcome with emotion, Sua held him close, tears streaming down her face. That night, they lay together, simply cherishing the moment. The next day, Sua found a diary in their guest house, one she had written before her death. She also found the handmade penguin storybook she had created for Jiho. As she read through the diary, everything became clear: the truth about her condition, her passing, and the miracle that brought her back. The diary held a powerful final message, one we will reveal at the end of the video. From that day, Sua began preparing Jiho for life without her. She taught him how to bathe, cook breakfast, and do laundry. All the while, old videos of her and silently cried, knowing the end was near. Every night, Woo-jin would quietly visit the tunnel with bundles of branches, trying to seal it off, hoping to prevent the inevitable. Meanwhile, Jiho was trying little rituals he'd heard could bring rain. He still believed his mom could stay if it rained again. It was Jiho's birthday. Sua went to Woo-jin's friend and told him she had something important to do, something that would take a long time. The friend, though startled by her serious tone, didn't panic. Woo-jin had already told him everything. Sua returned home to celebrate Jiho's birthday. Woo-jin recorded every moment and took family photos, trying to preserve every memory. That night, Sua told Woo-jin, "I always wanted to see what kind of person our son would become when he grows up." Woo-jin finally understood Sua now knew everything. He apologized. "Forgive me. I only wanted you to be happy. That's why I wanted us to have a child." Sua gently said, "Don't ever say that again. I was happy just being with you, but I was the happiest when Jiho came into our lives." They embraced each other with love and tears, knowing the end was drawing near. They kissed, holding onto their final moments together. The next day, Jiho had a school event. Both his parents were supposed to attend. Sua waited outside the school gates while Woo-jin was on his way there after finishing work. But on the way, at the swimming pool, a man collapsed in the water. Woo-jin instinctively jumped in to help. In doing so, he fainted again due to his condition. He was rushed away in an ambulance. Meanwhile, at the school function, each child stood up to say what they wanted to be when they grew up. But Jiho remained silent. His eyes searched the crowd. His parents hadn't arrived. Then suddenly, Sua appeared at the doorway. Jiho's face lit up. He ran to her and shouted, "I can run really fast. I can cook breakfast. I can wash clothes. And I'll protect my dad, because I promised my mom I would." The room fell silent. Everyone was deeply moved. Applause echoed through the hall. Later, Sua waited outside for Woo-jin, but the sky had already cleared. The rain had stopped, summer had returned. That's when she realized it was time to go. Jiho ran home, but found the house empty. He dashed toward the tunnel. There, he saw Sua slowly walking away. He grabbed her tightly and cried, "Don't go, Mom. Please don't leave me." Sua knelt down and gently said, "My time here is over. I'm so sorry I didn't recognize you when I first arrived." Jiho looked at her and said, "Please forgive me, Mom. I heard from relatives that if I hadn't been born, you wouldn't have died." Sua's face turned serious. "Don't ever say that again," she whispered. "I love you so much. Your father and I met so we could have you." That was our fate. Jiho clung to her, sobbing. I'll never forget you, Mom. At the same time, Woo-jin was rushing from the ambulance toward the tunnel. But he couldn't make it far. He collapsed from exhaustion. Desperately trying to move, he whispered through tears. Sua, don't go yet. Please wait. I'm coming. He tried with all his strength, crawling forward. Just in time, he caught a final glimpse of her. And then, she disappeared into the tunnel, just like before. But this time, Woo-jin found peace. He no longer blamed himself for her death. He stopped thinking that having a child had caused her to die. He finally forgave himself. In a symbolic moment, as he drove Jiho to school, a girl sped past them on her bike, just like before. But this time, Woo-jin smiled and overtook her. The scene showed how far he and Jiho had come, now living a joyful, fulfilled life. That night, while taking his medicine, Woo-jin discovered a key to the outhouse and a note. He followed the instructions and found a diary on a table. It was Sua's diary. As he read it, tears filled his eyes. She had seen him on the very first day of school, and from that day, she had secretly liked him. She used to watch him nap during class. She even faked falling into the pool just so he'd save her. And when he asked for a pen in class, she had actually been calculating their love compatibility, but panicked and said no. She regretted that moment deeply. She wasn't left-handed either. She had pretended to be just so the dance teacher would pair her with Woo-jin. On the last day of school, she was as happy as he was. For years, she waited for his call. And when it finally came, she was overwhelmed with happiness. After Woo-jin broke up with her, she cried every single day. The day she got into that car with another guy, she was only borrowing notes. When she saw Woo-jin nearby, she had wanted to run to him, but an accident happened before she could reach him. When she regained consciousness, she found herself inside a tunnel with Woo-jin and Jiho nearby. She couldn't understand what was happening. That's when she realized she had been transported 8 years into the future. There, she saw the life she could have had. A life with a loving husband and a wonderful child. When she returned through the tunnel, her memory came back, and with it, a choice. If she married Woo-jin, she would die at the age of 32. But if she chose someone else, perhaps she would live longer. But would she ever find this kind of love again? Would she ever meet a child like Jiho, who loved her so dearly? That's when she made her decision. She called Woo-jin. She chose love. She chose them. Reading the diary, Woo-jin felt incredibly grateful. He had been blessed with a love that was deeper than time itself. He clutched the diary, overwhelmed with love for the woman he had once called his wife. Years passed. Jiho grew up. And every single year until he turned 20, he received a birthday letter from his mother, letters she had entrusted to Woo-jin's friend to deliver. And this is where the movie ends. So hello friends, that was today's movie explanation. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button. Leave your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to share it with your friends. And yes, for more beautiful movie stories like this, subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. See you in the next video. Until then, stay hopeful, stay loving.